So a little over a month ago, I posted a video about propagating roses. If you guys haven't seen that one yet, I'll post a link up in the corner here. But since I posted that video, I've been getting a lot of questions. People want to know, what do they look like now, Mike? Are these things really growing? I want to see the buzz. I want to see the new growth. I want to see how they're doing right now. So let's take a look at them, guys. So here they are, guys, and they are growing fantastic. I mean, look at these guys. They're just sending up beautiful new shoots there, and they're green and healthy and viable and looking good. Let's set these down and take a look at them up close. So once again, these are the same original cuttings that I took when I posted that video about a month ago. We started these cuttings, geez, it's probably been several months, 3 months now, something like that. I don't even remember 100%, but it was back in the late spring, early summer that we started these guys. They, rooted really well. If you saw that video, you saw that they had tons of roots on them. I potted them up into these 1-gallon pots, fertilized them, and they sat for a while. And then eventually I saw the little buds start to swell, and then just within the last few weeks, they've really been putting on some nice, beautiful, tall growth, and they are turning into some nice little rose plants here. The growth on these guys is about a foot each. Maybe this one's probably getting closer to 14 inches, but they're growing beautiful. I'm real happy with this because it's now, today is what, August 30th, and so we're going to be heading into cooler temperatures, and these guys have been in these pots here for about a month, so they've gotten tons of root development. They've really gotten settled in. They've put on some nice new growth, and I know that they're going to go into dormancy in really good shape. So we're going to head into winter just fine with these, and they'll pop back next spring with no problem at all. There's only one thing that I might do with these little rose plants to help ensure that they've got good protection from the winter freezing, and I'm going to tell you what that is right now. So a lot of people ask me this time of year, hey Mike, how do I overwinter my rooted cuttings, or how do I overwinter my young little plants? They went through the summer fine, but they're still small, and now we're headed into freezing temps. Well, before I go any further, I do want to say this one thing. I live in the Pacific Northwest, so we're in zone 8B, and we do get down to, one year, a year or two ago, we got down to 12 degrees. So it gets pretty cold, but we're not like Canada, or Michigan, or one of these places that gets down to -20 or even lower. So I don't have a lot of personal experience, or I don't have any personal experience with temperatures that cold and getting rooted cuttings through. Having said that, I will say this one thing about it. Rooted cuttings are really hardy, and I've made several videos about this. If you haven't seen them, I'll try to put a link up in the corner to one of them. There was a little series I did last fall. I'll put a link up to the first one down in the description as well. And there's a few others. I think I've made like 5 total videos on this to prove to you guys the rooted cuttings do just fine going through the winter. Here's the one caveat, that the actual mother plant that you're taking the cuttings from are cold hardy to your area. So if you take a plant like this rhododendron here, this rhododendron is cold hardy to my area. If I take a rooted cutting, or take a cutting from it, get it rooted in the summer, which I won't do that with rhododendrons, but we'll just assume that I could take a cutting of this in the spring and then root it through the summer. When I hit winter time, that rooted cutting is pretty well as strong and cold hardy as the mother plant. So that's usually not an issue. So if you're doing cuttings from plants that are cold hardy to your area already, you shouldn't have too much of a problem with rooted cuttings. But in those videos, I do kind of go through how you can better protect your rooted cuttings if you're really worried about them. Now, one thing that I didn't go over in those videos is a very simple method that a lot of you will probably like because it doesn't take a whole lot to do. And that is just to simply take this 1-gallon pot right here and repot this guy into a 2-gallon or a 3-gallon or a 5-gallon. And it doesn't have to be that much bigger. The bigger, the better, because you're going to get a better buffer, better insulation. But the roots on these plants, when they're first starting to grow, are growing out and hitting the sides of the container. So when you get those freezes, or you get those early frosts in the fall, they're going to hit the side of that container and immediately start freezing those roots, or affecting those roots. But if you just, right before dormancy, not even quite yet because these roots are still growing, but maybe a few weeks before you think you're going to start getting some frost, take this guy and pot it into a bigger pot and try to get it central in that pot so that you've got a layer of insulation around the edge of those roots there. And you don't want to disturb the roots. You don't want to shake all the bark out and repot it that way. You just want to put that pot that, you know, pull the whole root ball right out of here and just set it right down in there and put the potting soil around those roots, and you'll actually buffer the root zone. You'll give it some insulation, just like on a house, some insulation to protect from those cold frosts, so that when those frosts do hit the edge of the pot, they don't immediately hit those roots. It takes some time to kind of soak in and cool off those roots. It just gives a little added protection for some of your new plants that you just got rooted this summer. So that's my tip for the day. But there's not much else to show you here. These are the rooted cuttings that we did. Like I said, with those roses, they're growing beautiful, guys, and I'm real happy with them. And they're going to survive and do just fine through the winter and grow on beautifully next spring. So follow along, guys, and you'll see how that goes. If you did like this video, hit the like button. Subscribe if you want to see how these guys turn out. Have a fantastic week, and I'll see you in the next video. Adios.